October 1969, the world stood at a razor's edge, where a single miscalculation could turn humanity into ash. The Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union had reached its boiling point. America was sinking deeper into the quagmire of the Vietnam War, and President Richard Nixon was running out of time. But, deep within the shadows of the Pentagon, a plan was being forged. Its goal wasn't to win a conventional war, but to perform a calculated act of madness. A mission designed to prove that the American president was capable of anything. The name of this mission, Operation Giant Lance. In this operation, no soldier would cross the border. No rifle would fire a single shot. This was a movement of machines, a strategic dance designed to set the world's radars on fire. A net of nuclear-armed bombers was about to be cast across the sky, while beneath the waves, silent ghosts were moving into position to strike fear into the heart of the Kremlin. It was the only mission in history where victory was to be achieved through presence alone. But was it just a bluff? Or was Nixon truly prepared to plunge the world into World War III? On the morning of October 27th, a secret signal was sent from Washington, and the engines of B-52 Stratofortress bombers, stationed at airports from California to Washington state, roared to life. This was not just a drill. The massive planes were carrying thermonuclear bombs, weapons capable of erasing an entire country from the map. Not just one or two, but a total of 18 bombers took to the skies at once. It was a terrifying display of the United States Air Force's power, one that was not hidden but deliberately shown. These planes headed toward the Arctic, where the Soviet Union's borders began. They were ordered to fly within the range of Soviet radar, so that the generals in Moscow's command centers would see their screens filled with red warning signals. To refuel in the air, KC-135 tankers accompanied these planes, making the intention clear: these planes were not airborne to land, but to stay aloft. But that was only half the story. While the skies were shadowed by these steel birds, a more silent, yet far more dangerous, presence was taking shape beneath the seas. The American Navy's nuclear submarines had disappeared from their bases. Where were they? No one knew. But their course was headed in one direction: the Soviet Union's shores. The true power of the Navy lies not in being seen, but in not being seen while still making its presence felt. While Soviet intelligence was busy counting the B-52 bombers flying above, they soon realized that the U.S. Navy's aircraft carriers and nuclear submarines had shifted their positions in the sea. This was the game of stealth that paralyzed the Soviet Union's naval defense. Submarines silently arrived at positions from where cities like Moscow and Leningrad were directly within reach of their missiles. These were the nuclear ghosts hidden beneath the sea, the likes of which no one had the means to counter at that time. Panic spread across Moscow's Kremlin. The report had reached Soviet leader Leonid Brezhnev's desk. The U.S. Navy and Air Force were both on full combat alert. Radars were screaming, intelligence officers were in disarray, and the entire world held its breath. No one could understand if President Nixon had truly gone mad. Was he really about to press the nuclear button? This madman theory was in full effect. The United States had proven that its Navy and Air Force had created a stranglehold from which there was only one escape: surrender. In the war rooms of Moscow, a death-like silence had descended. Soviet generals stared at the red markers on their maps, creeping ever closer to their borders with each passing moment. This was no ordinary military exercise, it was a nerve-wracking test where even a blink could mean death. For 3 days, American B-52 bombers had been airborne continuously. Their pilots were exhausted, the aircraft overheating, yet the signal remained green. Below, in the seas, U.S. Navy submarines lurked, awaiting any order to fire. For the Soviet Union, the situation had become unbearable. Their own defense systems were not prepared for such massive and sudden pressure. President Nixon's madman plan, or madman theory, was working. Moscow had received the message loud and clear: unless America got its way on the Vietnam issue, these 18 aircraft, and the submarines hidden in the ocean, would not simply turn back. For the entire world, those 72 hours felt like centuries. Radio stations fell silent, governments were on high alert, and behind the scenes, telephone calls took place whose records remain classified to this day. In everyone's mind echoed just one question: is this humanity's final morning? And then, suddenly, on the evening of October 30th, that same secret signal echoed again. The B-52 bombers turned their course and silently began returning to their bases. The submarines lurking in the depths of the ocean also moved away from their positions. On the surface, nothing had happened. No nuclear explosion occurred, no shots were fired. But Operation Giant Lance had accomplished its mission. The Soviet Union had received the message of just how far the United States was willing to go. This silent show of force opened the closed doors of negotiations and changed the course of global politics.